Hello YouTube. I know it has been a while. Basically what I was planning on doing tonight, I was planning on tearing up one piece of track and relaying it so I could have a complete all the way through track. Well, I kind of screwed up and left the plans in a car. So that's impossible tonight. So instead, I am going to I'm still going to tear up the piece of this third rail I put in months ago. I'm still going to tear it up, and I'm just going to have to scrap me relaying it tonight, and I'll have to relay it tomorrow. But what I have done since you've last seen me, last even heard from me, is I've added a new DCC system. This is my new DT 402 throttle. I have it hooked to a DB 150 booster. I've actually took off my DC throttles off my layout completely. I've gone through, and I'll show you later, of where I have my plugs for my DB 402 to be plugged into. In fact, I'm going to take you in this minute, and for those that are into DCC and wants to know more about DCC, I'm going to show you the little techniques of DCC that I know. I'm still learning DCC, so that's ongoing. I will take you on an updated tour later. What I have done, I have purchased a new building since last time. In fact, it's already installed in my layout. I have gotten 3 new engines, and my big boy has come in, been fixed. This front module is almost completed. The only thing that has to be done on it is I got to take up that third rail and move it completely so I can coordinate and have a through track for in case I need to bring one off and let one pass. That's what that's for. And then on top of that, basically tonight I am going to partly just tear that up and lay some scenery on the very back here. What I do need, I need to get some masking tape put over it, which I do have, and my tools, which is, I'm not too sure. I've probably got some around here that I still can use. I know where my pliers are, which I'm going to have to use to pull up track and that. The best techniques to pull up track is not with a big old flathead screwdriver. You can actually damage the ties with it. I suggest to get to use needle nose pliers. Reason being is basically all you do is take your needle nose pliers, squish down, and then pull up. But when you pull up, be careful that you don't pull it up too hard or you'll rip the ties. And basically if you rip the ties, then you gotta start all over with a whole fresh piece of track. Or you can cut it down to where the ties are and use it that way. On the left side here, I have an isolated piece of track. As you can see, I don't have anything hooked up to it. Reason being is this track is for programming only. I will have some DC engines on the tracks here and here. This track here will not be hooked up to anything at all. However, this track will. Along the lines of that, I'm going to actually put some fencing around it, which I do know where that is. It's actually my toolbox of scenery. With your scenery, it's best to keep it in a nice tote or a toolbox or stuff like that. I will give you a demonstration of scenery later. What else is there? I do have this tray here that I use. In this tray is one of my switches. What I have done is I've actually drilled a hole big enough in it, because I will take a piece of hanger wire, put it up in there, and use it as a switching gizmo. I've done that with almost every switch I own. I've done that with here, one here, one here. That's probably going to get done. I don't know yet. I haven't decided on that. I may be replacing that switch, but I'm hoping I don't have to. If I don't, I'll either use the piece of hanger wire that I showed you for the switching mechanism, or I have some more little throw switches that goes this way or that way. One way will switch it one direction, the other way it switches back to the other direction. As for this line here, it is dead. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I may be going underneath and looking at my wiring and seeing what's going on with that. I'm just kind of hoping that it's not the wire, because if it's the wiring, then I have to fix it a harder way of fixing it. I may have another piece. I may have to resolder it even. I'm hoping not. After I get all of this completed, I am going to go around with some solder and a soldering iron. I'm actually going to, I have a little piece that I can use that I can put right in the middle and solder right where I need to. As for soldering, it's actually best to solder on the outside of the track, especially if you're going to run trains over it. The reason being is less chance of a derailment. You don't want too much, and you don't want to create a hump in it. That's something I'm going to show you later when I'm actually ready to do that. The electronics parts of lights and that, I have not figured it out myself. I'm kind of thinking of using the DC throttles for AC being accessories, but I don't know yet. That's something I need help with later. I know DCC runs on AC, but I don't know if I can plug accessories into it or not. I haven't read that far yet, so I'm hoping I can. This is Smooth It. I swear by it more than anything right now. It's basically what I use Smooth It for is for filling in cracks and also for roadbed. Here, right here is where I poured some a month ago. It's actually pretty much it has dried completely. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a paint can, we're going to put some paint over this. Sorry about that. But we're going to put some paint over this, and then we're going to go ahead, I'm going to put some paint over it, but we're also going to put some scenery on it. Now when you do something like that, you want to be careful with your engines. I didn't mean to hit them together to make them come off track. I just kind of did that on accident. With DCC, there's a mode called analog in it. You can actually run your DC engines on DCC with 0, for those that did not know that. I discovered that the other day. I prefer not to run my engines on DCC because there's a big old loud whistling sound. Now that whistling does get a little bit quieter once it does get moving, but still, if you're using DCC and you leave the engine on the track too long, well, you basically you probably have a greater chance of ruining the engine than not ruin it. So my suggestion is, if you're going to run DC, to go ahead, switch over to your DC throttles and run them that way. I'm going to give you a tour of my engine shop later. I'm going to give you a tour of the entire layout later. So, but that's all I have for now until I get around to doing scenery, and we will show you what scenery is. And I really appreciate it, and have a nice night.